Okay, so the question that you had for your exam, this is the solution to it. A couple of things you need to point out first of all. I may or may not be nice enough to point them out before the exam starts. At the end here on the drawing they give you, they point out that it has to be 120 millimeters long. That is important because when you come back up here and follow the widths of the trace, and you come back up here, the corner point there is the direct reference back to that 120. So that's how you're going to get your height up in the elevation. Second thing is I hope you remember how to draw hexagons, and I hope you remember the principles behind hexagons and circles to be able to draw the plan. And third thing is they said it's an isosceles triangle. So this plane here is an isosceles, which means that angle and that angle are the same. This one's different. Okay. There is, I don't know how well you know it, there is a button down at the bottom right of the screen. It's settings. You can speed me up if this is boring. If you're finding that it's dragging on too much, you can absolutely speed up and just slow it down then for the part you need. There's no problems with that. Not that I'd know anyway. Alright, so just when we're drawing in our planes, we bring our lines down, all perpendicular. We'll bisect this angle here. Just like that, and we'll come in very close to that centre line there. We'll bisect this angle here, or this line rather. Open the compass out just to more than half, above and below, and just mark off where it crosses that line. You don't need to do those full semicircles at all. The less unnecessary lines in your page, the better. Just make sure you leave in the construction there for them so the examiner knows you did them. Okay, once you have that done, draw in your two axonometric planes. Now, if your accuracy is right, your compass is sharp, and your compass is set, they should hit both angles quite well. Okay. And now we'll draw in our planes. Like that, and this one across. I am also doing mine to half scale if it looks unnaturally small, because the only paper I have with me at the moment until I get into the school is A3. I will probably point that out to you at the start as well. If you're doing A3, just reduce the scale to half. So on years, it should be 120 along here, mine 60 along that line there. Okay, so we have that in, top and bottom. I'm just going to lighten my construction lines here a little bit, not rubbing them out, just lighten them so as I can see what's going on. To draw the plan, you have, in your case, 20 mil, in my case, 10 mil over this and this. So that's the edge view of the edge of my hexagon there. If you remember from your circle theory, it's one of the things I get first years to do. They do their circle art. And when they're doing their circle art, they draw a circle like this. They keep the radius the same. And they're able to do their flowers like that. Don't know how much you might remember this. But basically what it is when you do that all the way around your circle, you get a pretty flower pattern we're not too concerned by. And more importantly, you get a hexagon. So if we were to join up where those edges all met, like that, you get a hexagon like that. So that's what we're looking for. So that's the theory you need to draw this part in. So, and I hope you get the drift from that. So from this piece, I know that my edge is going to be along here, and I know that it's going to touch on a point along this line. So what I do, open my radius up to that width, put my needle on this point at the back here. Oops. Make sure it's set properly. Make sure the distance is right, because if it's not right, even by half a mil, it'll go off. And I'm just going to mark that off on the edge there. When I swing this back here, and if I also swing it from either of these points, I get a cross here in the middle. Again, that relates back to your theory of this flower. All of those will all hit the center point. So that's now the center point for your circle. You can draw in your circle there. If you've done it right, you should hit the 3 points you already have. And you can work from there. You don't need to draw the entire flower. Just draw your edge points along. Okay, and that should hit back there. So with my 2H pencil, back along and just put in the lines that you need to keep. I have a preference. I'm using a 2H pencil purely for the fact of I'm on the camera and you won't see the 4H. But I would suggest you having a 4H pencil, especially for your exams. It just means that your lines can be even lighter and your drawings overall will just be that little bit tidier. Okay. So we have our hexagon there like that. Now, next part they tell you is they say that this here, if you divide it in two, is where the inner hexagon hits. That means that if I measure this side here, which is 10 millimeters, in your case 20, is half of that, I can just mark that in. Once I have that then, I can do the same on this side. Do the same again, open up, find the radius of that hexagon in there. It's going to have the same center point. So what you can do is you can just draw your inner circle around. And see where it touches each of the points. Or the easier one to do, honestly, would just been mark off 10 mil on each of those because it hits each of those faces in the middle. Okay. Now, it's this kind of area where examiners will give you points or take away points for knowing when to put in hidden detail. The drawing clearly shows you hidden detail, so make sure you put that in. So there's 1, 2, a little bit tidier than this if you can, 3, 4, 5, and your last face being 6. Okay, so we have that in there. Next thing you need to look at is you need to look at your elevation here. As I said, if you've done this line wrong to this point, probably need to redo your plane and get it to the right size. You'd be able to leave this in the right dimensions, but your plane just needs to be enlarged. And you'll come over to this point then. Right, if I have that point, I can go horizontally across, following a horizontal parallel to my baseline across, and I know that the top of this object lies on that line. Next thing I can do is I can bring all of these points over to the edge of this axonometric. So those 2 points should come out to here. That point's in the center. I need to bring these 2 points over. And I'll need to bring this point over. And the reason you need those is because you're going to need those up here. So best thing to do, get your compass and copy them. So that's the first one. There's the second one. I'm going to put that one below the line because it's under the smaller hexagon. This. Hit the middle one. Again, that hits underneath. This one is on the line. And then this one is again underneath. Okay. So going from that, I can also go up my 10 millimeters on the edge. Again, if you're doing the full scale, it's 20. So mark that off there and mark it off coming down as well. So I have those 2. And I'm just going to put in the corner of my box here. Nice and light. Right, once I have that, I can start drawing my object properly. So this line all the way across is going to be heavy. This line also all the way across is going to be heavy. And I'm just going to fix these side lines as well. Right. Next line that's going to be heavy is the one that's on the line here. That's the front face. I need to move my set squares down because the camera's in the way. And this one is going to be here and here. So that's the outer bit done. Need to find the center. Easiest way of finding the center for this is going to be connecting those two edges there, because it's part of the drawing anyway. And drawing from here to here as well. Okay. Now, remember those smaller distances you took a while ago? This is where they become important. You're going to need to draw a center line through that center point. You're also going to need to show off where that comes in, as far as where you get the information of where this line comes in diagonally to is that point here, which is your hidden detail down in your other view. So I can bring that up. I can mark that off on the line, and I can mark off this one on the line as well. Okay. This point is that point there. If I've done my accuracy right, it should all line up. Now, from once I have that, it's filling in the blanks. Follow the photo that you were given, or the picture you were given. So I can put in this line from that point to that point heavy. This corner here comes down to here. It should go through that point exactly if I've done my work right. Yep. This point here comes down to this point here. Again, if I've done my work right, there should be no issues with where the centers are. And the same over here. Top goes to the bottom right. Top right goes back down. Okay. Clean off your sheet, make sure your sheet is kept nice and tidy. Hardest part now, I suppose, is going to be the axonometric, so bringing this all in. Understanding where all these lines go in the middle it's just more tricky to the eye than it is actually doing it. You have all of your points if you're looking for them. This point here on this edge, if you follow that down, it's this point here and this point here. So you actually do have points for everything. It might be worth your while labeling it if you find that easier. Personally, I'd always recommend labeling. For this, though, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the top and the bottom without the labels, and I'm probably going to keep the labeling for the center parts here, just to make sure that things don't get too overly complicated. Right, so they've already given you the front face here, so we're going to copy the drawings that we were given and just come in with the front face. So this is where, if you're not careful with your pencil work, it'll absolutely get destroyed on you. Things won't look right, things won't be tidy, and you're going to lose marks left, right, and centre for that. Bring in your second height line as well. And here. I also like to work with this in stages as well. If you bring all of these lines down at once, it's going to be impossible to follow it. The other thing you need to pay particular attention to here, if you're using slide and set squares, each of these lines needs to be perfectly parallel. It is very, very easy for a trained teacher to see when your lines go off. A classic example is going to be, see here and here, these two lines, they're not parallel. It's much wider here than it is here. That'll lose me a mark for my accuracy. It's not horrific, but it could still be a lot cleaner. Now, organizing the set squares so that they'll be able to be usable on the page. Right. I have this point here is this edge point here, so I can bring that up. And that goes up to that line, so I can draw that in heavy there. This line here is this line here, so I'll follow that back in and put in the height there. I can't do the broken lines at the moment because they're suspended up in the middle, and they also move off of this plane that I'm on. When they're diagonal, they're a little bit harder to follow. So this one here comes from here and comes down. Okay, so I have those three. If I look at my drawing then, see if this one will be visible. How you'll know if it's visible is if it disappears behind a line here. So if we look at this point as an example, when I bring my lines up, it comes out in front of the object, so it should still be seen in your 3D. Whereas this point here, let's say if that was a line that I was going to bring up, that's not seen. So that could possibly be hidden detail. It would also depend on how much detail you want to add to yours. Okay, so this line here then is going to be set on the same height as here to here. Be the same height as the front. So if I go around here now, I can connect the dots. And just make sure that you're bringing down the right one. So we'll be from the top here to that. This would be angled quite steep. That's fine too. And this one over here to here. How long is after your test? 20 minutes. Okay. So I have that base bit drawn in. I can actually do nearly exactly the same, but just for the top. So I'm going to do that right next. Now, it was also one that was shown to me a couple of years ago. And you know what? For the sake of what it is, I think it's very handy to know. If you put arrows on your lines, the reason that is that for all these lines here, we know that we're bringing our information down into our axonometric. There are some instances in questions where they're going to give you the information, let's say, in the axonometric or maybe in the plan. You have to bring it up into the axonometric and back. So it's very useful just to put arrows on your lines so you know where all of your lines are coming from. It also just shows that you have a bit of understanding as well. So if we bring down the bottom of each of these. And okay. So I have that. And now again, paying attention to lining your set squares up. Starting with this back corner. So it'll follow this line, come along. It's going to be between that one and the highest line here. Next one in is this line here. So it should be sitting along the same line as well. Now, where should that one be? I have made a mistake. No, I haven't. My set squares tilted on me. Okay, so they should be coming down to the same as well. I might have to have a look at that again in a bit. Next line coming up would be this one here, this edge here. So see where that's coming from? That is this line here. So that's coming in, and that goes in there. Okay, next one between the same heights. And I don't have another one to put in. I'm just going to double check this line here that's gone to the right spots. Coming up from this point is an exterior point, so yeah, I should be back just a little bit more to here. Okay. No, I'm not too worried about that, to be perfectly honest with you. A little bit of accuracy, but for the rate I'm doing this drawing at, I'm not going to be too worried about that. This line goes over. Now, hopefully all of these will be parallel too, would be the beneficial thing. If they've been done right. Would be also be an easier way of doing it. That's why I think that this one is off. I've put that line hasn't come in correct there somewhere. I've gone to the wrong base height. That's it. I've gone to the wrong base height. So that goes in there. Yeah, this line here should be back up here. So I need to fix that mistake now in a second. If it looks wrong, trust your gut. Okay. So the one instance where you're allowed to use your rubber, rub out a fatal flaw. Okay. So that would have been for this point, this line here, and this line here. All right. See, we all make mistakes there, lads. Put that back in at the right height. And that should look a lot better now. I did before. Yeah. Okay. So we have all that mountain. I can put in the rest of the tops as well here. So if we just follow along and find out where all those points would be. Right. We have this top point here would be on this back line. So that's one point. It would also be parallel to the front edge. Would be another valuable point to note. And this one here will be parallel to that. Okay, so we can put this line in here. They will be parallel, and it goes across for 2. Right. This line here, it's going to hit there along that line somewhere, so I can put that across. It's going to be parallel to this front edge as well. Okay. And it will also be parallel to this edge here as well. So all the edges on these are all parallel. Okay. A little bit of accuracy on there, but I won't cry about it. Okay. This part in the middle then, what I'm going to say to you is find these points. If you find those points, and we all know where they are, right, they're sitting on these lines, and we can bring the heights of them in. Once you have those, you'll be able to join up lines. So again, I'm just going to go along. We're not rubbing anything out. We're just lightening it up so that it's easier for your eye to see, because these drawings can get very complicated, especially at this point. So again, not rubbing anything out, but just making it easier to follow. So what do we have? We have the edges that we will see. So that's going to be this edge here. I'm just going to use a colored pen for you to be able to see it. Possibly this edge here. Definitely this edge. Definitely this one. And more than likely that one as well. We're not going to see this one or this one because they're behind the object. So I can bring those points up. Okay. Bring those points up to about halfway. That was not accurate. And if you think that your line isn't right, go away, just redo it, make sure it's right for yourselves. Okay. There's that one. There's this line here. There's this line here. And then just double checking, yeah, you'll be able to see this line here because it doesn't disappear behind anything else in the center. So you need to bring all of those up. Then what we're going to do is we're going to bring them back down the other way. All right. Check your parallel. First one here is going to be this one. This point is the same on the front and the back. So I can bring that up. So that's going to hit right there. And it's going to hit right here as well. So there'll be a straight line between those two. So I can pop that in. And you can see that straight line down here as well. Okay. Next one we have is going to be the center one here. So that's there. Go along, line it up to the center here. Follow your line up and just mark that off. Again, there's going to be a straight line from here to there. Okay. And the last one then, nearly done the drawing, is from this edge here up. So follow that one up. That's going to be to the extremity here. And just mark that off. And we can join from here to here. Now, all that's left to do with this project, with this drawing, is remember that where this point is, that connects up. And you know that from these drawings here. So if you look at, just take the front face, the one that they gave you, you'll be able to draw a line from here, up, and from here, back. That's the one they gave you in the drawing. You'd also be able to do that with this face. So what all you're doing is you're just connecting the top and the bottom faces together. And you'll see that that will go through the points that you've already drawn in. Okay. And then there's this one here is the only one I'm looking at to see, is there a little bit more information I have there? I don't really think there is. What you can do is you could, so we'll know that this edge here connects up to that edge there. So all you can do is just put in a line there going up. That'll go through that center point. That's the one bit where I think you might be caught, because that edge is seen. It mightn't be seen very well, but it is seen. I should vanish away in here then. Okay. That's that question. That has taken me 25 minutes. I'm giving you 40. Good luck.